Cecil's Journey to the Sweetest Leaf by Snuggle Blossom. Cecil was a little green caterpillar with a very big appetite. He lived on a big old bush at the edge of a garden. Cecil loved to eat. All day long, he would munch and crunch on the leaves. Munch, munch, munch. But the leaves on his bush were not very good. They were tough and a little bit bitter. They were a dark, dusty green, and sometimes they had little holes in them. One morning, Cecil ate a big breakfast. Crunch, crunch. He wiggled his nose. "Phooey," he said to a sleepy ladybug on the same branch. "This leaf tastes like old socks." The ladybug just stretched its wings and flew away without a word. Cecil was all alone with his tough, bitter breakfast. He sighed a tiny caterpillar sigh. It was the same thing every single day. He lifted his little head and looked out across the garden. Far, far away, past a long stretch of gray, he saw something wonderful. It was a new tree. It was not big and old like his bush. It was young and fresh. The leaves at the very top were a bright, shiny green. They looked like happy little flags waving in the sunshine. They looked soft. They looked juicy. They looked delicious. A happy wiggle went all through Cecil's long body, from his head to his tail. "Oh," he whispered to himself, "I bet those leaves are sweet. I bet they are the best leaves in the whole world." He thought about the sweet, juicy taste. His tummy rumbled with excitement. He had to get to that tree. He just had to. But there was a problem. A very big problem. Between his old bush and the wonderful new tree was the great gray flat top. It was a giant flat stone, a single big brick set in the ground. It was wide and empty. There were no leaves to hide under. There was no soft dirt to crawl on. It was just gray and flat and very, very big. The sun was shining, and the great gray flat top looked hot. Cecil felt a little bit scared. His 16 little feet wiggled nervously. Out on the open stone, anyone could see him. A big bird flying in the big blue sky could look down and see a little green caterpillar. It was much safer here on his dusty old bush. But then he looked at the tough leaf he was sitting on. He took a tiny nibble. Blech! It was still so bitter. He looked back at the distant tree. He saw the bright green leaves dancing in the gentle wind. They looked like they were calling to him. "Come on, Cecil. The food is wonderful over here," they seemed to whisper. Cecil made a decision. His tummy wanted those sweet leaves more than his legs were scared of the big stone. "I will do it," he said bravely. "I will go on a journey." He said goodbye to his old, tough leaf. He said goodbye to the dusty branches. He carefully crawled down the stalk of the bush, down, 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 until his front feet touched the soft, crumbly dirt. The ground felt cool and bumpy. It was the start of his big adventure. He wiggled to the edge of the great gray flat top. It looked even bigger up close. He took a deep breath and put one little foot onto the stone. "Ooh! Ah!" he squeaked. It was warm. He put another foot on, and then another, and another, until all his little feet were on the stone. It was much hotter than the dirt. It felt like a warm blanket under his tummy. He started to walk. Wiggle, wiggle, step by step. The stone stretched on and on. There was nothing but gray in front of him and gray behind him. The sun felt bright and very warm on his back. He felt very small and very green on the big gray stone. He looked up at the sky. It was a huge blue bowl all around him. He felt very alone. Suddenly, a big dark shape moved over him. A shadow. It covered him completely. Cecil froze. His whole body went still. He tried to look like a tiny, flat piece of a leaf that had fallen on the stone. He didn't move a single leg. He held his breath. His little heart went thump, thump, thump. Was it a big bird? Was it looking for a little green snack? The shadow stayed for a long moment, and then, just as quickly as it came, it was gone. The bright sun warmed his back again. Whew. Cecil let out his breath in a long, shaky sigh. That was very scary. He kept crawling. Wiggle, wiggle, hot, hot. His little legs were getting tired. The new tree still looked so far away. It was like it wasn't getting any closer at all. He stopped for a little rest. He felt weary. Maybe this was a bad idea. Maybe he should just turn around and go back to his old bitter bush. At least it was safe there. Just then, he saw another tiny creature on the stone. It was a busy ant, carrying a crumb that was bigger than its own head. The ant walked with purpose, its long legs moving very fast. "Hello," Cecil said in a small voice. The ant stopped for just a second. "Hello," it said, its antennae twitching. "It is a very hot day to be out here." "Yes, it is," said Cecil. "This stone is so big. I am going to that new tree over there." He pointed his head toward the bright green leaves. The ant looked. "That is a long way," it said. "A very long way for a caterpillar." "I know," Cecil said sadly. "My legs are tired. I am not sure I can make it." The ant adjusted the big crumb on its back. "My home is also a long way," the ant said. "And this crumb is heavy. But my family is waiting for their food, so I just keep walking. One step, and then the next step. Soon, all the steps add up." The ant nodded, and then started walking again. "Good luck, caterpillar," it called back. Cecil watched the ant go. One step, and then the next step. The ant was right. He couldn't get there by standing still. He thought about the sweet, juicy leaf waiting for him. He closed his eyes and imagined the taste. He imagined how soft it would feel. That picture in his mind gave him new energy. "Okay," he said to himself. "One more wiggle." And then another one. He started to move again. Wiggle, wiggle, one more step. Wiggle, wiggle, I can get. He didn't look at how far he had to go. He just looked at the little bit of gray stone right in front of him. He crawled over a tiny crack. He went around a small pebble. He just kept his little legs moving. The sun was still hot, but he was getting used to it. He was a brave adventurer now. After a long, long time, he felt something different under his front feet. It wasn't hot and hard anymore. It was cool and soft. It was dirt. He had made it. He had crossed the entire great gray flat top. He wiggled all the rest of his body onto the wonderful, cool ground. He had never been so happy to feel dirt before. He looked up. The new tree was right in front of him. It was even more beautiful up close. The trunk was smooth and pale. The leaves smelled fresh and green, like a sweet morning rain. He was very, very tired, but he was also very, very excited. He had made it to the wonderful tree. Now, for the last part of his journey, he started to climb. Up, up, up the smooth trunk. It was much easier than crossing the hot stone. He climbed from the trunk to a small branch. He climbed past big leaves and little leaves. He kept climbing higher and higher, toward the very top where the sun made the leaves shine. Finally, he found it, the most perfect leaf he had ever seen. It was at the very tip of a branch. It was bright, tender green. It had no holes, no dust. It looked soft and was full of sunshine. Cecil crawled onto the leaf. He took a deep breath. He had worked so hard for this moment. He had been brave, and he had not given up. He opened his mouth and took a big bite. Munch! Oh, it was wonderful. It was sweet. It was juicy. It was everything he had dreamed of and more. It was not bitter at all. It was the most delicious flavor in the entire world. He took another bite, and another. Munch, munch, nibble, munch. As he ate, Cecil thought about his long journey. He thought about the hot gray stone and the scary shadow. He thought about his tired little legs. The hard journey made this simple meal feel like a special feast. This wasn't just any leaf. This was his reward. It was the prize at the end of his adventure, and it tasted so much sweeter because he had earned it. When his tummy was full and round, Cecil found a comfy spot on his wonderful new leaf. He curled up into a little green ball. The sun was warm, the leaf was soft, and his heart was happy. He had been brave. He had been strong. And he had found the best meal in the whole wide garden. He closed his eyes and dreamed sweet green dreams.